Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials,
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
her story,
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here's your host, Lauren McLean.
We're so excited to have you on Her Why, where we celebrate the women who make BYU sports great. Today, we're joined by someone who's made an impact at BYU as both a player and now as a coach, BYU softball's assistant coach, Allie Hancock-Schneemann. Thank you so much for being here with me, Allie.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
This is going to be fun because the team is having a phenomenal year. They're a great team. You just wrapped up an amazing and resilient series with Utah, and are gearing up for two more in the Big 12 tournament. How is the team feeling at this point in the season?
We're feeling good, especially after, sweeping Utah this past weekend. That was a lot of fun. We're kind of in the grind of keeping everyone healthy at this point in the season. It kind of happens every year, dealing with injuries and stuff. So it's a grind keeping everyone healthy right now. But everyone's really excited about this weekend going to Baylor and then getting Texas Tech next week at home before we go to the conference tournament. So everyone's kind of on a high right now after beating Utah. So hopefully we can continue that and carry that on into this weekend.
What do you think that matchup did for the mindset of the team? Because those are some crazy and incredible comebacks, and especially this late in the season. What do you think that did for their mindset?
I mean, I told Coach Eakin, I've been here for 10 years, counting my playing days, and that was the craziest comeback on Friday, being down 8-1. That comeback was crazy, and even Coach Eakin said, that's the craziest comeback he's seen in 23 years. And so I think having a team make that kind of comeback and being down that many runs, it gives everyone a lot of confidence that, going forward, it doesn't matter how many runs we're down by, that we can always come back and everybody's ready to step up and play. So it was awesome. It was a really big confidence booster.
Are there any standout players who you feel like really have stepped up lately and made big improvements this season?
Honestly, there's so many. You have the girls the core players from last year that are continuing to step up. You kind of expected them to, like Lily Owens, Haley Morrow, Kate Daly. Those kids, they're doing great, and we expected them to do great. And then, there's people that we missed last year, like Kaysen Korth. She's had to come back and battle back some injuries, and so it's been nice to have her back. And then we got Lindy Milkowski from the transfer portal and some top freshmen, and Elo Vea Brittingham and Bree Townsend. There's all across the board. Everyone is stepping up when they need to, and it's been really awesome to see.
As you know from a player and now being a coach, every team kind of has their own vibe. Mm-hmm. How would you describe the chemistry and the vibe of this year's team?
This team, they are very energetic. They scream and yell the entire game, and that kind of carries into them on the field, like playing with that energy. They're I don't want to say they're crazy, but they're always dancing and playing loud music on the bus and in the locker room, and they just kind of carry that energy out onto the field, and you can see it if you come watch a game. You just hear them nonstop, and it's a pretty entertaining environment.
We took my boys, me and my husband, to the softball game this weekend, and my husband's like, "Why is the catcher dancing?"
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
exactly.
And he's like, "You would never see that in baseball." I'm like, "That's why softball's so awesome, though."
Yeah, no, they love Lindy Milkowski. She loves to pump up the crowd in between innings. She'll dance and talk to them and get them to cheer and stuff. So she's awesome.
Hey, it's working for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got to know, if your WCC era BYU team played against this current squad, who do you think would come out on top?
I think the game is always changing, And, like our teams in the West Coast Conference, we were really good. And I mean, we went to 4 postseasons, 4 regionals. So obviously we were good. But this team, like the competition that they have to play, that makes them so good. Like it would be a close game. I don't know what would happen, but it would be close. But I would maybe go with this year's team.
Let's go back before you played or coached at BYU. You grew up in Gilbert, Arizona. What was your childhood like there?
Oh man, honestly, when I think about my childhood, softball is the only thing that comes to mind because I've been playing it. I was playing it since I was 8 years old, and that's all I did was softball, softball, softball. I was the oldest of 6 kids, so I was always at the field. My parents were always sending me with other families if they couldn't come because they had to take care of my other siblings. But every weekend I was just at the softball field.
So at what age did you start, would you say?
Started t-ball and coach pitch, obviously, when you're young, but started playing competitive softball around the age of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're the oldest of 6 kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So just that right there. What were you? Did you have to babysit a lot? What was it like being the oldest of that big of a family?
Oh yeah, I feel like the oldest, especially being the oldest girl, like you have to. You're the automated babysitter and caretaker when your parents are gone and stuff like that. So, that was my role. I was playing softball or watching my siblings and helping take care of them.
So I'm the youngest of 7.
Oh, wow.
And my oldest sister was the type that was like, I want nothing to do with any of you, because she didn't want all that responsibility. Mm-hmm. Is that how you felt sometimes, like, get me out of here? Or did you gladly take on that role?
Honestly, I think I took on that role. My siblings would probably say I was pretty bossy and controlling. Yeah, so I think I liked having the power and being in charge of them. So that was kind of my role.
All right, take us back to your high school recruiting. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, so I kind of have a different story about that because I was a late bloomer in softball. Like, I was good, but I dealt with injuries growing up and stuff like that. So I didn't have a whole bunch of offers in high school, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I was going to go to a JUCO in Arizona. Wanted to go play there for 2 years and then go on to D1 University. But after I graduated high school, I got a call from Coach Eakin, and he was like, "Do you want to come play at BYU?" And they wanted me to come pitch. I was a pitcher. So he was like, "Why don't you come try pitch in front of Coach Pete and stuff like that?" And I was like, okay. I came up. Coach Pete didn't really like he wasn't on board with what he saw. But then they saw me hit, and he was like, okay, we'll take you as a hitter instead of a pitcher. And so I was like, okay. So
wow,
it's kind of rare. It's very rare, actually, to be recruited after you graduate high school. But, it all worked out in the end, so.
What were your thoughts of BYU before Coach Eakin approached you? Was it a place you always wanted to go, or was it even on your radar?
I had friends and former teammates that were at BYU, so it was always on my radar, obviously, being LDS and having teammates that came here, but just because he had never really recruited me in high school, I just kind of scratched it off the table. And I was like, okay, that's not in the plan for me. I'll stick to somewhere in Arizona. And I knew it was a great school. My teammates that came here loved it. So when he did reach out to me, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I really need to consider that and think about that opportunity.
So when you came to Provo and you tried out in front of them and then they ultimately decided they wanted you, did it just click for you, or were you a little nervous? What were your thoughts when they said, "Kay, we want you"?
Yeah, I was honestly very nervous because I'm a planner. And so not having that be in my plan, I was like, I don't know if this is really what I'm supposed to be doing. It kind of all seems crazy and moving so fast. But talking to my parents and the teammates that went here and praying about it, I was like, this is definitely probably where I need to go. So, yeah, and it worked out, met my husband here and everything. So
Yeah.
it was the right thing.
It definitely worked out for you during your playing days from 2016 to 2019. You played first base, set the program record for fielding percentage. That's pretty amazing. What do you remember most from those years as a player?
Oh man, I loved my playing time at BYU because I met so many amazing people and I have so many great memories. But honestly, I was kind of in a unique position because I was obviously great at defense, but hitting wise, I didn't perform how I wanted to. And that kind of took a really big mental toll on me. And I kind of just felt like I was letting a lot of people down and, coaches, family, all that stuff. And it's frustrating when you work so hard at something and you don't get the results that you want. And so I was always kind of frustrated and embarrassed almost when people would ask me, like, what was it like playing at BYU? And I was like, oh, well, don't go look at my stats because they weren't great. But, in the end, like now that I'm coaching, I realize that everything happens for a reason. And, the struggling in softball and having those ups and downs, I've been able to carry that into coaching, and it's helped make me a better coach. So in the end, now looking back, I'm thankful for the way that I struggled and ultimately didn't perform how I wanted to. But I loved playing here at BYU, and I wouldn't go back and change it.
I wanted to ask you about that, how your experience with that has helped you as a coach and what you tell these girls when maybe they're struggling as well.
Yeah. At first getting into coaching, I was like, I don't know if I'd be a good coach because I'm not an All-American and I wasn't player of the year and all that stuff. And I worried that people wouldn't really want to listen to me because I didn't have these awesome stats to show for. And, but then I realized that like having those ups and downs, like that makes me a better coach for everyone on the team. And it makes me be able to relate to all of them. Because if I was this star player, I wouldn't be able to relate to those kids that are struggling. And, softball is a game of failure. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs. So I think it really helps me coaching to be able to be kind of that coach that can relate to everyone, the players when they're playing good, when they're struggling, and kind of helping them through that. But also like realizing that, they're all important. And even when you're not playing your best, like everyone provides value to the team.
What's cool is I think most people just remember how solid of a player you were and how consistent the teams were that you played for.
Yeah.
What do you think made those teams click year after year?
Winning is fun.
Yeah.
And everyone likes winning. So being in the West Coast Conference and continuously winning kind of brings everyone together. Like I think my junior and senior year, I played a lot more, but my sophomore year, I didn't play like at all, freshman and sophomore year. But sophomore year was one of my favorite years because we were ranked and we were winning, and like it was just a really great year for us. And I think that's one of my greatest, most memorable years. And it's because, in the end, this is a team sport. And so if the team's winning, you're enjoying it and you're having fun.
Yeah.
So that was a really good time for me. And I kind of try and get the players to understand that if the team is winning, like you're winning.
Yeah.
And so, just always root for the team to win and you'll be happy, I promise.
Which is hard to do.
Yeah.
When you're competitive and you've worked your entire life to, and you feel like you're not performing like you should. But I love that mentality. Were there any specific teammates or coaches you feel like really shaped your experience at BYU and had an impact on you?
Obviously, have to give Coach Egan a shout out because I wouldn't be where I am or who I am without that guy. You know, like I said, I was nervous that he wouldn't even want to hire me just because I wasn't this star player. But he has really just given me a lot of faith in myself and self-confidence in myself to coach. And, you know, I know he always believed in me when I was a player, even when I wasn't playing good. So that kind of helped shape me and push me to where I am today. And I'm just really grateful for him.
While you were playing first base for the Cougars, you also met some guy who played baseball for BYU, Daniel Schneemann, who eventually became your husband. But before you two got married, how did you first meet?
Yeah, so, you know, being an athlete at BYU, you always kind of run into other athletes, whether it's in the SAB or football games. And softball and baseball, we're around each other a lot. We share a batting cage, we share a training room, all that stuff. So our freshman year, we were really just friends. We were really good friends, hung out in study hall all the time. And that's just kind of how we met and started hanging out. And, you know, sophomore year is when we actually like started dating. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I know it's crazy how many of these athletes get together, but it totally makes sense. And you guys kind of understand.
You relate.
Yes, you can relate to each other. And on that same note, you've said before that in the beginning, baseball was Daniel's biggest focus.
Yeah.
How did you feel navigating that dynamic as someone who is also committed to your sport and your goals?
Yeah. It puts us in a unique position because, like, we understand each other because our sports are so similar. So we understand, you know, the highs and the lows of it and all the work that has to be put into it because it is so tough.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we were playing here together at the same time before he got drafted, like we would go hit together in the cage all the time and he would help me with some things and I would try and help him with some things, but he knows what he's doing. He doesn't really need me, but I would try and give some input, but hitting him ground balls and all that kind of stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. As things started getting more serious and with Daniel pursuing a pro career, what were your thought processes about how things would go once you got married?
Yeah, I mean, I always knew, like, baseball isn't this thing that lasts forever.
Yeah.
So I knew going into it, obviously, that it was going to be a grind and it was going to, you know, take a lot of time apart and we were going to have to do long distance for a lot. But I always knew in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to be for forever. So, and like that's his goal and his dream. Like I just need to support him in that and let him go all in on that and, you know, accomplish those things. And then when he's done, then we can enjoy our time together for once. So
you mentioned that you're a planner. So I'm curious, did you have a plan for how you would make this all work? Or were you guys like, let's just take this day by day?
No, that's like the one thing I didn't get to plan for at all. We literally just take it day by day, and you never know what's going to happen in the professional baseball world, where you're going to be at. So you can't plan for that kind of stuff because you don't know what's going to happen on any given day.
Daniel was drafted in 2018 and left BYU before you graduated. What was that time like for the two of you?
Yeah, we got married right before my senior season. So, you know, it was kind of like I was focusing on myself because I was like, I want to have a really good senior season. So I love you. Go do baseball. I'm going to focus on softball. I've got one more semester of softball. I got to just focus on that. So we really didn't experience the newlywed phase at all because we were apart for the first 6 months of our marriage. So, but we were both doing what we loved to do. So,
right. How were you guys able to stay connected through that time?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, the fact that we both play like the similar sport, we understand everything that goes into it. So we know when to like be there, but like when to also give space and when you don't want to like overcrowd them or like, you want to give them space to deal with what they're dealing with. And, obviously also communication, FaceTime, lots of FaceTime calls, lots of phone calls, just any chance we can get to talk to each other for 5 minutes out of the day. We were trying our best to do that.
I just interviewed Jackson and Michaela Clough.
Oh, yeah.
And they were apart. She's in Utah and he was somewhere else. And they were just talking about how crazy that life is. And you guys are living it as well.
Being on different time zones all the time, traveling, like you're never really on the same page, but you try to communicate the best you can.
You do the best you can.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Allie shares how she got into coaching, how she's juggling life as a mom and a coach, and what it's like cheering for her MLB husband from afar. This is Her Why. What's up, everyone? This is Lauren McLean. If you like my podcast, make sure you listen to Legends of 84. Each episode tells the intimate stories of people associated with that 1984 National Championship team. You'll hear from people like Robbie Bosco, Glenn Kozlowski, Kyle Whittingham, and Patty Edwards. Check it out on the BYU Radio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McLean, here with BYU softball assistant coach Allie Hancock-Schneemann. You jumped into coaching right after graduating, starting as a volunteer assistant here at BYU and then moving to UVU as an assistant coach. What drew you to coaching in the first place?
Yeah, I think, going through all the ups and downs that I went through as a player, I just really wanted to be a coach that could, relate to all my players and kind of help them through this crazy game with how hard it is and everything. I wanted to kind of help them and make sure that they knew how important they were, even when they were failing at softball. And so that's kind of what I didn't want people to feel how I felt. And I love softball and I'm super grateful for it. I wouldn't change a thing. Like I said, I'm grateful for all my failures because they've made me to who I am, but I just wanted to coach players and help them not struggle as much as I did with how they felt about themselves. And yeah, so important. What was it like going from volunteer coach to assistant coach at UVU? Do you feel like that put a little more pressure on you? Yeah, and it really forced me to get out of my comfort zone because I was always at BYU, playing and then I was the 5th year kind of grad assistant, and then I was the volunteer coach at BYU, and then I was like, I need to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit, go experience somewhere else, learn from some other people and, kind of grow my coaching portfolio, I guess, a little bit. And so I'm really grateful for the short time that I had at UVU because I think it, in the end, has made me a better coach.
So what made you come back to BYU as the director of operations in 2022?
Well, long term, I always knew that I did want to end up at BYU. That was always the goal. And then I had my daughter while I was at UVU. And I kind of felt like maybe I needed to make an easier transition into being a mom.
Yeah.
Basically a single mom almost because my husband's gone 8 months out of the year. So I was like, I should maybe, Coach Egan reached out to me and was like, do you want to come be our director of ops? And I was like, let me think about it. But yeah, I do want to come and do that for a year. And hopefully, it was a risk because before that, BYU already had a full staff and you never know if they're going to get more coaches. And I was kind of scared. I was like, I don't know if what if I never get back into coaching? What if I put myself in this director of ops role and I never get out of it? Yeah. So it was kind of a risk, but I just kind of had faith that hopefully I'll get to coach again at BYU one day.
And then you did, pretty quickly, right? You were named assistant coach in June of 2023. You're also a mom, you mentioned, to your daughter Kendall, and now you're pregnant with your second baby. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did coaching change for you once you became a mom? You mentioned you got the director of ops to maybe slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
But how has the coaching life changed now that you have a girl, almost two?
It's crazy. Like, I have this child at home that I have to take care of, but then I also come to work and I basically have 24 other kids that I have to help take care of. And so I kind of feel like I'm just a mom 24/7, which is awesome. I love being a mom. I'm so grateful to be a mom. But I feel like being a mom and having my own kid has made me a better coach because it kind of makes me look at these players in a different way. And I realize, like, oh, they're someone else's kid too. Like, I need to take care of them and protect them and help them grow and, help prepare them for life. Yeah. So I honestly have 25 kids right now. Yeah.
It's crazy how your mentality shifts the second you become a mom. What kind of adjustments do you have to make to balance both of those roles, being a mom and a coach?
Yeah. I mean, it takes a village. I never really understood that saying until I had my own kid, but it really does take a village, and I wouldn't be able to coach and be a good mom without all the help that I have. And everyone kind of understands my unique situation, having a husband that's gone so much. And so I'm really grateful for Coach Eakin because he lets me, if I had to, he's like, bring her to the field. She can hang out at the field. And the girls love her. She hangs out in the locker room with them. She's always in the training room. She's a celebrity at Miller Park. So she loves that life. But then I also, I have a babysitter at home that helps. And I have my in-laws that are here in Utah. So I have so much help. And I'm so grateful for it because I wouldn't be able to get to do what I do without all that help.
Yeah. Did you say she loves coming to the park?
Is
that something she loves to do?
Oh, yeah. She loves it. I'll be like in my office and bring her to work and she'll disappear for a while. And I'm like, where is she? And she'll be in the training room throwing plyo balls against the trampoline or something like that. Or the girls are playing with her and playing songs with her. So it's really fun.
What a cool experience for her to grow up that way.
Yeah.
We've got to talk about the gender reveal that you did with the whole team. How did that all come together?
Yeah. So it's funny. I already knew because I did a reveal with my husband. So obviously I knew that it was a girl. But the team, they're like, we want to know. And I was like, we'll do a reveal. Don't worry. So the day before I did it with the team, I was like, I got to go to the field and practice this because I got to make sure that this little ball explodes. So I set it up the day before and practiced, and I did it in like 4 tries. And I was like, oh, they're gonna kill this. It's gonna be so easy for them. And then the next day I go and we're doing it with the team, and none of them could break it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was taking forever. We went through like 2 whole buckets of them trying to hit this ball. I was like, we got to go work on hitting some more. And the suspense was just killing them in the end. So they're like, can you please just hit it for us? We just want to know already. And I was like, okay. So in the end, I was the one that hit the ball, even though I wanted them to try and do it. So, but
like,
it was
come
fun.
On, guys. You're really ruining this.
Exactly. But they were super excited. So it's fun to have another little girl, and then now I'll have 26 daughters. So
oh my gosh.
It's awesome.
And they're going to be best friends.
Yeah.
This is a super side note, but I was just curious listening to you talk. Do you ever try and hit off the pitchers now? Are you like kind of trying to prove to yourself, like, I still got it?
No, I can still hit off Coach Meredith.
Okay.
He'll throw BP sometimes, and I know I can still hit off him, but I haven't tried to hit off our own pitchers. I don't think that would go very well for me. I gotta keep the allure that that I am still great and can hit anybody, but
I understand that.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little more about your family. Daniel's now playing for the Cleveland Guardians. You're coaching in Provo. He's playing across the country. How did you two make the decision that he was going to play baseball and you were going to stay in Utah to coach?
Yeah. We both support each other's passions and dreams, and I think that's a huge thing, and I'm so grateful for him. And like I said earlier, baseball is not going to last forever. And so like he needs to go and do this. Like he's doing something that is so hard and not a lot of people get to experience that. And like he is amazing. He's my hero. And so I want him to go all in on his dreams and his passions. And luckily he feels the same way about me. And he knows that coaching is a big thing for me. And he knows how much I absolutely love it. So he totally supports me in doing that. And, you know, I won't lie, it's hard being apart. It's super hard, especially having a kid. But luckily we support each other enough that, you know, we're each other's biggest fans and we try to be with each other as much as possible. Yeah. but we just find ways to make it work being apart.
Does he miss his girls?
Oh yeah. That's why, you know, FaceTime every day, every night before Kendall goes to bed. That's a big thing. But I know it's super hard for him not being here, getting to see her every day. So that sucks. But in the end, we know it'll all be worth it.
Chasing the major league dream can be an incredible journey, but it's also not super glamorous all the time, right? So what were some of the challenges you two faced during those minor league years, especially when it came to finances and stability?
Yeah, I mean, when he was in the minors, I was the volunteer coach. So you don't make money doing that. So I was having to work camps and give lessons on the side outside of practice to try and make some money. And he was in the off season, he was driving Uber, trying to make money. Yeah. So it was an exhausting grind. So we are just very grateful to be in the spot that we are now because we know how hard it was to get here.
I hope there's some big MLB fan out there that's like, wait, that guy was my Uber driver.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Were you ever tempted to move home and get some help?
Honestly, no. And I don't think my parents would have let me. They would have been like, no, figure it out, dude. So yeah, no, we just knew that we were going to make it work.
What was it like when you finally got that call saying, I'm going to Cleveland?
Yeah. I was actually with him in AAA when he got the call. So I had just dropped him off at the field for his game, and me and Kendall were going to get lunch, and then he called me like right away. He was like, can you come back and get me? And I was like, did you forget something? And he was like, no, we're going to Cleveland. And I was like, and obviously we both got emotional, but it was a pretty surreal moment to finally get that call and get up there.
With Daniel now in the big leagues and you're here in Provo, how do you follow his games and support him being so far away? I'm always checking my phone to watch his games when I know he's especially in the lineup. And it's funny because a lot of my players now, they're Guardians fans. They're honorary Guardians fans. I make them be Guardians fans. So if I'm not watching the game for some reason, if I'm busy, they've got it on in the locker room or something. They're like, Coach Allie, Daniel's up or Daniel's playing. And so we always, whenever we can, we try and catch a game or turn it on somewhere at the field so we can watch. And he's doing well.
Yeah.
He's doing well this season.
Yeah.
Baby number 2 is due in August. Does that mean no traveling with the team to games this summer unless it's close by? What does that mean for you?
I don't know yet. I want to try to do as much as I can. Obviously, summer is a busy time because it's recruiting also for me. So have to go recruit and, build the BYU softball team, but also try and go and support my husband. So summer is a crazy time. So I'm hoping my doctor lets me travel as much as I can up until August. So I will try and go out to as many games as possible in August. In July up until August.
Yeah.
And I fly all over the country no matter where they are. So yeah.
Cool. You're setting a really cool example for your daughter by being a coach, a mom, a strong leader. What do you hope Kendall sees in you as she grows up watching all of this?
It's cool because I want to be an example to my daughter, but at the same time, and also an example to my players, and kind of show them that you can be a good mom and you can also go after like your passions and your dreams. Like you don't have to choose between one or the other. Like you if you want to do something and you set your mind to it, you can make it work. And so I just kind of hope that my players and Kendall kind of see that and are motivated to go after all the things that they want to do.
What are your hopes for BYU softball moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the program is always growing and getting better. You know, being in the Big 12, recruiting is getting better because the competition is just so much tougher. And so I'm just really excited for where this program is going. And, you know, we want to win the Big 12. We want to get back to going to postseason on a regular basis. That's our goal, and to compete and, you know, compete at regionals and compete at super regionals and then the World Series. Like we have those big goals and we know we can achieve them.
My last question for you is, what does it mean to wear BYU blue, not just as a former player, but now as a coach here helping lead that next generation along?
Yeah. Like I said, I love coaching and I would coach anywhere, but being at BYU and getting to coach at your alma mater is the coolest thing. And I'm just so grateful every day that I get to wake up and come to the field every day. It doesn't even feel like a job sometimes because it's just like my passion and my dream. And I get to do it every day and be surrounded by so many great players and people. And it's just like the biggest blessing. And I just want to continue to grow the program. It's already amazing, but I want to help make it even better. And, you know, it's just awesome to be at BYU, and I'm just so grateful.
I'm here with Allie Hancock-Schneemann, former BYU softball player and current BYU softball assistant coach. Allie, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your story, and good luck the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to Annie Robinson for producing this episode with senior producer Cleon Wall. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.